I've seen it is if somebody sits down, I see the entire room's usually full. My name is Andrew Anderson. I'm a psychic medium. I read spirits, but also talk about people's lives, where they're heading, paths, outcomes, and I've been pretty good at helping people avoid certain things in their lives that were supposed to be avoided. I also am a life coach, a spiritual coach, a mentor. I teach tarot, and I teach mediums and psychics.
When a spirit comes through, what does that actually feel like to you? And how do they appear?
It's mostly the look is an impression of who they were. Usually I'll get an impression of a spirit when they departed, but then usually during the process, they take on the form that they have once they cross, which in my opinion is a younger image, like 30, 32. Usually just a younger image when someone dies older, I mean. So it comes at an energy, a sight, a feeling. But the interesting thing is I never see the spirit's feet. I've always noticed that. And I believe it's mostly because the veil between this world and the next world, in my opinion, begins about 3 feet off the ground. So we're looking at it from that perspective as like a half.
When someone sits across from you, what's the first thing you notice?
The challenge I have as a psychic medium is because when someone comes to sit down in front of me, I don't know what they're coming for. It could be something psychic, it could be medium. So my job is to figure that out before they say anything, really. So when they sit down, I'm pretty much seeing who's around them. I'm grounding myself. I'm feeling into what they're coming for. And that's usually the beginning of the session.
How does a loved one from the other side know to come through to you?
Well, I just spoke about this recently, actually. What I've developed over the years is a certain amount of symbols. And I believe that every entity that comes to me understands my symbols and how I work. And I think that most mediums out there have different types of symbols, although they might be similar. But they bring me a symbol that I understand. Once the symbol is connected to, I will then start connecting to that spirit and hear the words that they're using. That's when the dialogue can start, because there's nothing in real time. It's always lagged or whatever. I wish it was in real time. It'd be much easier.
How do you distinguish intuition from fear, imagination, or personal bias?
Yeah. Oh, the $1 million question. Part of my mentorship program that I do is to actually do just that. One of the biggest challenges of any psychic or medium is separating imagination from what is psychic and what is happening. Because as soon as we're getting a download, our brain will go to work to try to explain what it is. Usually not down the psychic path. It's going to try to make sense. So what I've developed is a way to journal specific downloads that come to people, date them, document them. When we see an event that felt very similar to that, we have a reference to go back to. Now we have something to go back and look at how we saw something. For example, if you see a plane crash, you saw a plane crash, okay, inevitable maybe, but you see the amount of people, you see a bunch of different things involved in the premonition, not just a crash. Now you have something to go back and review and see what you saw as psychic and what was actually imagination or just the reality of the crash or whatever. So documenting and journaling specific downloads is very important.
What does receiving information feel like for you in real time?
Well, sometimes it's a feeling of goosebumps, hair standing on end. When I get those moments, they're special to me because I know that something's happening bigger than what maybe they thought they were coming in for, specifically a person. Like I said, the goosebumps, I will get a lot of times I will get a headache or I will feel some stress or pressure somewhere in my body. And a lot of times it's in relation to who's sitting in front of me, or even sometimes a loved one or someone in their life. So I do get impressions physically right away sometimes.
Does somebody need to believe in this work for spirit to come through clearly?
Well, I talk about this all the time. Just because someone doesn't believe doesn't mean your loved ones are not going to be around trying to get you to see things. I think that of course, there's many skeptics out there, you're going to get the best reading and the most out of it if you come with an open mind. If you come with your arms folded, the odds are you're going to not have an experience, that is beautiful to some people. So yeah, being skeptical, you can be read for.
Do you have a moment with a skeptic that completely changed their belief in this work?
Yes, many. One stands out, though. I will eliminate names, of course. There was a trauma therapist who actually was an atheist when I met her. I did some work with her. Long story short, she came back some months later with a cross around her neck. That to me was so fulfilling, and it was just gave me purpose. Just that one experience. There was also an experience on this yacht. I was doing a party on Lake Michigan, and I had a psychiatrist come down for his session. And he started the session by saying, I spent my life studying the human brain. I have PhDs. I'm a doctor. I'm a psychiatrist. He started all that stuff. Why? I don't know. But that was so profound because when the reading was done, he would not stop shaking my hand. And he said that I gave him at least 4 quotes that his son never shared with anyone, only him. So to change somebody like that who said right out loud they spent their entire life studying the human brain to actually believe when they left the table from me, that was life-changing for me.
Do people maintain their personality, emotions, and relationships after they pass?
Yes, somewhat. So my belief is in reincarnation. Our souls have many journeys. Some souls have more journeys than the others. That's how you can tell what you can tell what's going on and who's who by just looking at the news. No old evolved souls are going to be caught up in some of the stuff you see going on out there. You can tell just by looking at that. But when we get to the other side, my feeling is that we've had many lives. So a lot of times people will have a loved one around them when they pass and feel like they're not there. Where are they? Why aren't they around me? But what happens a lot of times in my experience is they only knew the loved one for a period of decades sometimes, when actually that soul lived for hundreds of years, sometimes many lives. So when the soul gets to the other side, I believe they're a culmination of all those other lives. So although they will be familiar to you, they can sound unfamiliar because of that context alone.
How do objects work in the spirit world? And do certain items hold so much energy?
People do bring me things like clothing or something of loved ones. That does help. It helps me connect in a stronger way. It's so familiar to them, especially if they didn't wash the clothing.
When spirits come through, is it usually one at a time or multiple in a single session?
Well, the way I've seen it is if somebody sits down, I see the entire room's usually full. A lot of times, multiple spirits will talk at once. I don't believe they realize they are. I tune into who the person in front of me wants to speak to. But in regards to that, the others are usually still talking. So that concept is a little different. But they are all talking. They're all there, multiple spirits, but I will only entertain one at a time.
Do spirits communicate with one another on the other side?
Yes. To me, there's a form of a hierarchy on the other sides. It's not like something organized. It's just something that the entities know. It's not some organization on the other side. You go here, you go there. It's just when you get there, there's a feeling and you just know your place instantly of where you are and who you are.
What kind of ethical responsibility comes with having access to deeply personal information about strangers?
Well, of course, confidentiality is key to a large degree. No one wants their names out there, not a lot of people anyway. The bond that you make with a human being on that level when you can connect to something within them that they're not sharing with anyone is something that a lot of humans don't get to experience in this life, not even with the therapist sometimes. When someone sits down and has someone in front of them telling them what's wrong with them instead of them saying it is a whole different dynamic. It's also, my belief is it's unethical to walk up and volunteer a reading or information to a stranger.
What rules or ethics do you personally abide by in your work?
Well, the rules and ethics that I go by certainly when I'm teaching readers or mediums, is we don't read for minors unless permission from the family. We never ever tell somebody when they're going to die, although good readers can know that. It's one of the rules that I believe God puts out. It's in his time, my belief. Then you never go up to somebody and volunteer the information out of nowhere. You only read for people that want it or come to us. And that goes to a whole nother topic. When a reading is forced on someone, you have a different outcome than you have when someone's actually actively looking for a reader or a psychic or a medium, because that is usually the universe and God is manipulating, and the loved ones manipulating the loved one to a specific person for a reason. Under that scenario, the readings are usually better and can be a lot better and deeper. When you try to force a skeptic in front of someone like me, they're going to sit there and question and doubt, and they're not going to be open to it a lot of times.
Have your predictions ever protected anyone or saved their life?
Well, yeah, many times. And what comes to mind, especially when it comes to children and kids, if there's a way for me to protect, which I've had a series of them throughout my career, of where parents have gotten ahead of something to save a child and have literally said that to me. So one instance was a doctor had come to me, showed me a picture of her husband. I had said that right out of the gate that he was a pedophile, and it's something I picked up strongly, and professional guy. And what he actually was a child psychologist. So, and I picked up on that right away. I was able to give the woman, I told her in his condo, he had 2 laptops. I said there was one under the bed and one in the bottom of a laundry basket. I said, on those laptops is proof of what I'm saying. She didn't waste any time. She went to the condo. She had a key. She found the laptops. She said they were exactly where I said they were. She took them, couldn't open them, couldn't get into them, took months, finally had a forensic audit done by the FBI to get into it. And what happened was she saw these testimonies of him lusting after his own kids and some of the other kids. Needless to say, he lost custody of the child, has no visitation, only supervised, lost his license. I get a beautiful card every year thanking me still for that. That was one of the most beautiful experiences I think I had in my career. There's others too, just actually picking up on creeps, traffickers, all kinds of people out there that a lot of families don't even know they're around. So I've been able to pick up on that specifically. There's a point in one client comes to mind. She was going to Florida, and she said that she has a 7-year-old boy. I said I felt a predator and somebody was looking for her to kidnap a child. I said, keep your son close to you, which should go without saying. But I believe that she was helicoptering her son. Now, here's what happened. She had found out that within 1 mile of that park she was at, there was a child abducted in a white van at the time she was there. So could it be that that predator was viewing that park and saw that the parent was maybe a little too close to the kids, saw no victim there, moved on? So when it comes to kids or protecting them, that is it. All bets are off. I don't care who you are. If I feel you're doing something, you're going to be found out.
What's a moment that you can recall that your work changed the trajectory of someone's life?
Well, some of the mentees I've coached, I've had several people that were in corporate America, for instance, or teaching and soul-sucking jobs that they hated. They were miserable, didn't want to go to work in the morning. Helped them become career coach, readers, psychics, and they got out of there and they've thrived. And they're very appreciative of that, to be able to have a modality to get out of corporate America, certainly, or whatever they were in. And that was what tarot and readings can provide.
Have you ever doubted your own abilities, and what experience helped you overcome that doubt?
You're taking me way back. I think the process that I've had, my journey, has eliminated any doubt. And I also have an understanding of what I do and what I'm capable of and who I am. So I would still place my percentage of accuracy in the 90 percentile, which I think is pretty high from the standard of this work. Yeah, I mean, when I was first developing my gifts, I guess I've always known I was different and something was different about me. People that met me would say the same thing. I don't really have any doubt. I know who I am and I know what I can do and I know what I'm capable of. There is no doubt in me whatsoever. Any doubt that I may have had would have been decades ago. And it was only creeping in because probably I was so busy and I was making money doing remodeling and I didn't have to do this. Maybe that would be the moment of doubt. But the work with this quickly got started and evolved into what it is today. And it's been a beautiful journey. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Do you believe that having psychic ability is a rare gift or natural human capacity most people are disconnected from?
Well, I believe that we all have a sixth sense of sorts, and women, of course, have it in spades. Women have such a heightened awareness and intuition that mostly gets challenged and suppressed by a man she's with. They're the ones that usually create the doubt in women that they shouldn't have. I think that this journey can also be learned, but mostly during the process, you're learning to tap into what you already have. I do believe, not a conspiracy theorist necessarily, but a realist. I do believe that a lot of people's pineal glands, third eyes, have been calcified. And I believe it was on some level intentional, to keep people down, maybe. Not a lot of free thinkers is a good environment for some members of our government, probably, right? So I believe that the path for confidence in your gifts lies within the third eye. And actually using the third eye daily decalcifies it, in my opinion. That's what I've seen.
What is the transition like for someone who comes to you for a single reading and then becomes a mentorship client?
Well, a lot of times it happens quickly. For instance, yesterday, someone was here. I was talking to her. She'd been in therapy with a new therapist for a year and a half. She had an hour with me. And in that hour, she fired her therapist and actually sent me a large payment to prepay for months. So what happened was she got something from me that took less than an hour that took a year and a half for her therapist to say. I believe that getting in charge and in control of what you're going through and identifying the things and the issues and not dwelling on them over and over and over again are very important in this process. I feel like the connection is made right away. If somebody's ready, certainly an addict or an alcoholic, a lot of times I'll work with them too. They're usually ready. They all hit bottoms eventually. But people usually know the first setting with me, and I do too as well, if I'm going to be a good fit for them to coach them or mentor them. It could be career goals. It could be just they're tired of people pleasing or whatever, just life changes in general. Self love. Yeah, the mentorship is different for every person. Some people want to be a career tarot reader or a psychic medium, but I'm also on some councils of some big corporations.
How is your mentorship different from traditional coaching or spiritual guidance?
You know, there's traditional life coaches out there, career coaches, all kinds of coaches out there. But I'm unique in the sense that how many of those coaches can tell somebody the outcome of the choices they are going to make? That is what I do, and I've been doing for decades. That coaching takes it to another level because we can help them avoid things by seeing what's coming. That's my approach to it.
When you see someone's path, is it fixed or can it be changed?
I believe nothing's etched in stone, although certain things are inevitable. Now, what's important is with a client that I start mentoring is to tap into their soul contract as best as I can. Because in that contract, there is a certain level of inevitability. Now, not everything is set in stone, and there is also free will involved here and impulse, all that stuff God gave us, the fun stuff that gets in the way. Yeah, nothing's etched in stone. And that is good because a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. We reach several impasses in our life. At those impasses are the moments, some are bigger than others, but at those moments are where we're supposed to make the right decision. And that is where I come in. Those impasses happen every year with every human. And when you're faced with those choices, that's when I can help make the right choice, the best choice.
How many people do you believe have abilities similar to your own?
I like to talk about how people like me have been around for centuries. They've been around forever. It's just quiet. Back in the day, like medieval times, kings all had people like me, psychics on council, soothsayers, mages, right? Sages, always. They've always had it. They didn't care back then. They were proud of it, actually. Just today is still going on. It's just people mostly don't want anyone to know.
How have your abilities made your personal life or relationships more difficult?
Um, it doesn't really affect it, but the perception is because a lot of people will ask my fiance, what's it like dating a psychic? How can you hide anything? How can you get away with anything? Her reaction was the best. I have nothing to hide. um, but yeah, I mean, it would be difficult from that perspective, I guess, to be with someone like me if you're shady, I guess. Yeah, it's hard for me to, I guess, find friends or have friends. I know thousands of people.
Having spirits come to you as often as they do, how does that affect your day-to-day life?
Um, One thing I've become very good at is actually separating from my work. So, yeah, I already know that spirits are around every people, and I don't let them interfere or come around me or bother me. I have that power and control over it.
Do people ever try to get close to you because of your gifts?
I do have a very small circle of internal people because, a lot of people have tried and said they were going to be friends with me or "Oh, we're going to be best friends." It's never worked out. Mostly it's left with me being the center of attention or being asked psychic questions constantly. There's never really a friendship ever developed like that. So that's been hard. It's been a kind of a difficult part of this, I guess. But I do have to admit that all the talking I do with people from around the world eliminates the need for that. Um, and it in a way that that can affect my relationship as well is that, I'm talking about relationship stuff daily. And the last thing sometimes someone like me wants to do is talk about relationship when I'm done talking about it all day. So it can interfere that way, but I believe that I'm ahead of that, and I've been able to integrate that into my life where it's not that much of an issue, where I am relating to my person. Um, but it does get a little difficult because of that. It's draining talking to people.
How does your mental health get impacted by encountering grief and trauma every day?
That's a good question. Understanding my role and who I am and what I'm meant to do is a big part of it. But also the fresh flowers, all these enormous crystals I have in our home and in my office create stability, balance, and calm. There is nothing that can linger here. Um, Sometimes I'm left affected by a couple of readings. I've had some disturbing things that I've seen, but usually it's me on top of that and not affected by it, mostly because of the crystals and the environment I've set up in the home.
How do you connect with God through your work?
That's a good question and a tricky one as well, because people's religion and religious beliefs are very private to them. I interpret God differently than most people I've met anyway. I embrace all the religions. I understand God is in everyone in their own specific way. And I always use the metaphor of the whole and the heart that God created in all of us. Every human being has that hole meant to be filled by God or a higher power. And a lot of times people will try to fill that hole with alcohol, drugs, or stuff like that. You get a temporary fix, but I believe that's why ultimately, when the dust settles and you reach your bottom under that scenario, everybody there looks up to a higher power and then surrenders. Comes around full circle, fills the hole with God as it was meant to be from the beginning. That's my belief. But God is a tricky subject for a lot of people because of that. So a lot of people won't come here because of their religious beliefs. I've bridged that gap, I believe, with that by the people I've seen. I've seen a priest, I've seen ministers, pastors, heads of church have come for guidance. That has changed the complexity of what I do to a degree, mostly because people hear that those people are coming to someone like me. It frees them to do the same sometimes.
And this is our final question to wrap this up. Why do you think you were given these abilities?
Well, I believe I was given the abilities based on the evolution of my soul. The only reason I survived my horrific childhood was because of the gifts and my understanding of God and spirit guides. That's the only reason I survived. So I believe that my gift will be recognized as something that bridged a gap between spiritual, metaphysical, God, Bible. I think that the work that I've been doing does do just that, bridges the gap. I do believe that the answer lies within the thousands of people that I've seen. So the connections I've made with families that have lost kids, with survivors of alcoholics, and the work that I've done right there, that's your answer. That's why I was given this gift. There's been tens of thousands of people that I've seen that also know tens of thousands of people. So I'm only a conduit here. I just did what I was supposed to do and told to do. But I'm telling you that right there alone is proof that this was what I was supposed to do.